All right, the next show is November to December. You return to Club Stars. That was on November 19th. You were defending the light heavyweight title against Tiger Kahn.
George. Oh man. Ah, this is going to sound ironic because of the fact I keep saying this about everybody. But again, George, I love that guy. I got stories about him like there's no tomorrow. Uh, I remember that show. Me and George get along very, very well. We always did. So every time we stepped into the ring, it was just a joke between us two. A quick story. We got in trouble one time. And you probably will know this, but we worked for NEWA, NWA New England one time as a tag team, me and George, against, oh God, they used to come up with the skateboards, Wild Boys. I don't know if you remember the Wild Boys, but we worked them and we were told that we were to act as if we didn't know each other, me and George, even though we were tag teams. Well, me and George completely forgot that. We go into the show, into the ring, and we're interacting with each other the way me and George interact with each other, not realizing that on camera it comes off as we've been tagging forever. So we get back into the locker room, and of course, the booker that's heading our match, that's scripting our match, is Ebony Blade. Boy, did we catch heat. Did we catch heat? But the thing was that me and George just forgot that was the direction, just because of how me and George get along. So back to that particular show, I remember sitting in the ring working with George, and I'm pretty sure you can see it in the show. I grab him in a front chin lock, but you can't see my face. And I'm actually on the opposite side of the camera. The whole time I'm holding him, I'm literally just whispering in his ears, just sweet nothings, nothing to do with the match, just joking with him throughout that time. So that match to me was nothing but get to the end. And we had a blast on that match, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't know if George sees it the same way, because to be honest with you, I remember it vividly, and I joked throughout that whole entire match. I was probably in rare form that for what I normally wrestle. I just felt way too comfortable with George, just as much as I did with Vert. So it turned into one of those matches where it was just a fun match.
Yeah, George is one of my favorite people. He's always been so nice to me and so extends his hand and helpful. And he, I think he's always liked me. He, as somebody that wasn't involved in the business, he like always invited me in, and he liked when he took over the book for NEWA. He liked me because he always said I wasn't a yes man. When everybody was working with him, he said everybody yesed him, and I didn't. I always called him on his bullshit. Like when he'd say something, I'd say, no, why are you doing that? Why are you doing this? That don't make sense. Why this? And he wanted me to come help him book, not book, but help him with booking ideas. Mm-hmm. And he said, dude, you've watched so much wrestling, you know what the fuck you're talking about. He's like, tell me. And I said, you really want to know? And I tell him. And he goes, you know what? Nobody does that for me. And I go, really? He goes, come to next show. Tell me what you do with this match. And I started telling him, and he had me come to every show and tell him what every match. He goes, you're the only one that does that for me. He's respected that ever since. To this day, when he just got hired for NXT, he even put it on my page there. He said, I'll publicly say this right here, that I'll never forget what you, when he got hired, he messaged me and said, I want you to know I'll never forget what you did for me, that you, and all I did was tell him the truth.
And that's it. He's always been like that. Like, I've known George for a very long time, in and out of the ring. And to be honest with you, I think George has always been that type of person that he just wants honesty and just being straightforward. He's never given me the vibe of, oh, let's tiptoe around George, or let's, go around George. I've always been a straight shooter with him. He's been with me, and we've had some of the greatest matches together, greatest times together, to be honest with you. I like that kid like there's no tomorrow.
I didn't know him that well at the time, and I think he must have been frustrated because he got the book, and I think everybody was like, yeah, great idea, George, great idea. And I think I was just like, why are you doing that? Why you like he wanted to have a tape fist match? I was like, okay, but why? He was like, because tape fist match. And he was like, well, if you're gonna do that, somebody's got to jump him and hurt his hand, and then, and he's like, yeah. Why hasn't anybody else told me that? Why? And, and he was like, hey, come next show, and he wanted to give me a match. He goes, you rule that match. I go, I can't do that. I go, let me watch, and I'll pick out what I can't take a match and tell you how I book that match, but I can watch a match and tell you how I make it better, and from that point on, that's what I did. And then I started shooting promos, and the NEWA stuff I'm going to put up, that's what I did. I point the angle with the promos. And George, how do you want to go with this? What direction do you want to go? And then I just lead the promos with that and go from there.
Oh, there you go. And George was always open-minded. I mean, to me, he was always the type of person that wanted ideas being thrown at him. I mean, I remember sitting in locker rooms just going over things that we were going to do. And he was like, dude, you want to do this? You want to try this? Or can we do this? Or hey, did you see this? Can we try it? And sure. He's such a great guy. I mean, so easy to work with, too. I've had the privilege, to be honest with you, in my career, especially now sitting here talking to you, to realize that I've had some really good friends and really good workers within the business that, to be honest with you, if I probably would have exerted myself a little bit more or thought that I had the capability to go somewhere, that these guys would have been able to carry me to an extent of, me being being content to say that, not only did I wrestle in the past, but that I can leave a legacy behind. Because a lot of the guys, not just through Primal, but throughout my career, have influenced me dramatically, and they've moved on to bigger and better things. I just wish I would have seen the opportunity when it was presented in front of me. I was just too busy having fun.
Yeah, George was always great for that. He's always like, I always seen it in you're the one that needed the confidence. You always tell me you're the one that I always tried to bring it out on when he was hired. He's like, hey, if you stuck with it and had the confidence, you'd probably be right here beside me. I wanted to bring you for years, probably 3, 4, 5, 6 years after. He'd message me like every 6 months. Hey, you sure you want to come back? Come back, come down. Just come hang out at the show. Come talk to me. Come. He'd always try. And I'd be like, no, man, I don't do that no more. He'd always try to get me back in for years.
See, that's cool, though. And it's cool that you have that contact with him, though, because to be honest with you, a lot of the guys have gone on their own way, and I've lost contact with a lot of them. And through your efforts, I'm reconnecting with a lot of them as well, and it's nice to just sit and reminisce with them, because to be honest with you, some of the stuff that you're putting up that I'm seeing, some of the stuff that comes my way as far as like, through messaging or anything like that, boy, was there a lot that I forgot that I'm glad I'm remembering, because my son's 24 and he remembers me wrestling. He remembers going to my shows, very early. But then my daughter, who's 5 years younger than him, doesn't remember me wrestling at all. And you putting up some of the stuff, especially the first match you put up, like I didn't have that. So I put it on TV and I was watching it. She walked into the room and she's like, Dad, the hell is that? And that's you. And I'm like, yeah, this is my past life. And believe it or not, my daughter's actually asked about what I did prior, so now I'm sharing with my daughter something different that she's never witnessed from me. My son has, but not my daughter. And I thank you for that.
That's awesome. I love hearing that stuff. What was the first match?
Oh, the first match that you put up was me against, geez, hold on. I have it right here.
Was it NEWA?
Yeah, it was an NEWA match. Actually, I think it was something you put up with me and Jose.
Yeah, I was going to say you and Jose, early NEWA.
Yeah, because she's like, oh, that's Uncle. So it must have been